Never can get too much drum. Never can get too much drum. All right. Well, hopefully, hopefully everything is looking okay this morning. Like I said, in Open Picking Church, we had to reload and reformat the computer last night, so everything was pretty much done last minute. So, all right. So, as we know, we are in the priest training. Lucy says, I can never figure out how to get on here. Well, it's not that hard. You start by liking the page, and then theoretically they say, Facebook is supposed to notify you. Yeah, so they say. Yeah, but you can also hashtag Live with the Shaman, and it will show you all of the Live with the Shaman stuff. I tend to wonder sometimes how many people actually don't know how to use hashtag. And I'll put it in the window for those of you that don't know. We have a pound sign, and we have Live with the Shaman with no spaces. Hashtag Live with the Shaman. She says I normally turn off notifications. Yeah, well, they get annoying. Yes, they do. They do right enough. So, what have we been doing? Well, we've been working on going through our training processes for Live with the Shaman. We've been working on a training document for Live with the Shaman for people that need a little refresher, myself included, and for those that are thinking about remote training. Now, something I have found over the last couple of remote students I've had, I haven't had many, it's hard on the student. It's rough on the teacher, but it's really hard on the student as well to do remote training.
Here are the top results, starting with one from Reddit.
And you know, Google has its good stuff. But boy, it sometimes pops up at the most inopportune time. Oh well. Off we go. I'll be moving stuff around a little bit, trying to get a better view. So without further ado, if you can see the list at the top, today we're going to be doing Circle Protocol. And yes, it is in the training module. The training module has been uploaded to the OpenGCS site as of this morning. And I even put the link to the file in the description area. Hell, if I make it any easier on you guys, I'm going to have to read it to you. Not going to do that. So do we have any questions over what we've covered prior? I think I only see Clint and Lucy in here this morning. And Lucy, bless her heart, she's been busier than a one-legged cat in an ass-kicking contest. And, well, Clint's new job's keeping him pretty busy. So, for those of you that watch the pre-recorded broadcast, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you have any questions over prior classes, by all means, PM them to me or come over to the OpenGCS, actually, and post them there. Put the class date, what the topic was, and what your question is. One of us will be more than happy to answer it for you. All right, off we go, and we're off like a herd of turtles. All right. So what we're going to be covering this morning is circle protocol outline of what we normally do. Now understand that circles, rituals do change. They come and go. We may do something in one circle that we may not do in another. Understand that the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, we do not have ceremonies, we have rituals. However, there are basics that we cover in a GCS circle. Coke Zero Orange Vanilla is amazing. I will take your word for it. Coke Zero Orange Vanilla. Ew. Yeah. You go right ahead. I'll take your word for it. Now, I'll tell you what I like. Sonic has come out with a peach root beer. Oh, oh. Peach root beer rocks. Anyway, we digress. Shaman Circle is a sacred place. It's the place where we are the most at home. Absolutely. And yes, of course, I'm having to scroll because Facebook is stupid and doesn't automatically scroll. So if I stop what I'm doing and go over and look at the chat, it's because I want to be sure I'm not missing anyone's questions. The Shaman Circle is a sacred place. It's a place where we're more at home. Now, to make circle ready for ritual of any kind, these are the things that you need to do and some of the things you need to follow. Now, you need to understand something. Preparing your space, preparing your sacred space is just as important as the ritual itself. Good morning. Just like preparing your altar. When you're preparing your altar, you're organizing things, you're getting set up for the cast that you want to do. And if you're doing a Sabbath altar, you're getting in your mind and in your heart what your Sabbath altar is going to be set up like. One Sabbath altar will be different from another Sabbath altar, just like setting up a circle might be a little bit different on the altar than the others. The things that don't change, though, is the direction that we go in circle, the point in which we call different things within circle. As we covered way back up in the first year, I have a diagram on that which shows you how to set up your circle on your property. Now, the way you set it up and the ideas you come up with is very important. And yes, putting your energy into the space is very important. Right? Off we go. Do everything in circle. Do everything in circle. As you can tell, I make changes on this document as I go along. Do everything in circle clockwise, never counterclockwise the circle. The clockwise fashion represents the forward movement of all life, never moving backwards. Now, understand something here. When we're talking about clockwise, okay, we're talking about the natural flow of time. We're talking about everything moves forward. There are some times where life seems to move backwards. We take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, or 1 step forward, sometimes and 3 steps back. That gets a little daunting, a little confusing, and a bit of a pain in the butt. However, that's life. But what I really want you to understand, though, in calling circle and getting ready to circle and setting up circle, we're going clockwise. Now, when we had the big circle down south, when I cut grass, I always used a weed eater and a push mower and I always went clockwise around the circle. The reason for this is I'm setting the circle just as I'm going to set up anything else I would cast. And I kind of wish I could make these split screen, but there you go. So the reason we don't go backwards or counterclockwise if we can keep from it is we don't want that backwards movement. Now, I'm going to break it here real quick. I'm going to explain something. There are some times where looking at the circle layout, right, you will go from north, right, and you may drop over to um, the element of air to fill up the tiki torch. Well, even the tiki torches I try to fill clockwise, and I always teach the students to do the same because we're forward thinking. We want to keep that thought process moving forward. Now, okay, I may go to air and pull the tiki torch out and go left over to north to the altar to fill it up if my silly self forgot to take the tiki torch oil with me. You don't have to walk all the way around circle. That's not what I'm talking about. But for the biggest part, when you're cutting grass and you're cleaning up and you're making things ready, you want to keep that forward momentum going. And you're putting in your heart and in your thought why you're there, why you're calling circle to begin with. Like it says right here, cutting the grass, I always go in a clockwise fashion. Cleaning, oh boy, cleaning. Making sure all of the sticks and the trash and the cigarette butts, and there's nothing I hate worse in a circle than cigarette butts, and other stuff that doesn't belong in circle is cleaned out. Why? Well, obvious reasons for one, I hope. You want your sacred space to be clean. You want your sacred space to be clean of anything that could distract you, or worse than that, making sure sacred space is clean is a safety feature. I say again, it is a safety feature. We have had people that have come into circle during the march, and I'll talk about that in a bit. During the march, that have tripped over a twig. You'd be surprised at how much damage a tiny little twig can do to the bottoms of bare feet. Some of you might say wear shoes. Well, I personally like to wear sandals in circle. There are times where I will go barefooted and I don't want to step on a damn stick. I absolutely don't want to step on a nasty cigarette butt. And I was that way even when I was smoking cigarettes. I am very OCD'd about cigarette butts on the ground in circle. By all means, fill strip the cigarette, put the tobacco on the ground because, well, the tobacco is part of the mother anyway, and that's fine. But don't throw the paper and your wrappings and your crap on the ground in sacred space. That's just wrong. Anyway, sweeping. Well, okay. Some people like some people like to take a yard broom and sweep circle and circle the leaves and such, and that's fine. Personally, I'm okay with leaves in circle. However, if it's dry and those leaves can help you light the fire for the pit, all the better. And sometimes sticks and twigs and things can hide under the leaves. So it's up to you whether or not you sweep the circle. Which direction do we sweep? Which direction do we sweep? Well, that's kind of a thing. Clint says, "Gotta go. We'll watch the recording later." Okay, Bubba. Careful out there. That's the thing. When you're sweeping a circle, I like to sweep from the outside in if I'm going to put the leaves and what have you in the fire pit. Right? I've seen some people that will start at the north outer edge of circle and they will do a spiral sweeping coming in. Now that can be kind of daunting if you've got benches, altars, and what have you in the way. So typically what I do is I start at the northern furthest point and I just sweep center and then I go back and I catch the next run and I sweep center. It depends on how the mood strikes me. I have been known to use the power mower, the push mower, to go just keep going clockwise in a spiral fashion and let the damn mower blow the leaves to the center. Well, common sense, I would think, but there you go. Right, altar prep. Okay. Altar prep. You have 9 altars to set up. Depending on the type of the cast that you're doing will depend on whether or not or what types of setup you need. As such, high cast, you'll need all altars. Basic cast, you only need 4. Um, like it says here, such as a high cast, you need 9, 4 candles on the north altar, along with each one you're going to do. Now, what I generally do here is if I'm going to do a high cast, I'm generally not going to put the 9 candles on the altar because I'm going to be doing the march around the circle, calling each altar in its particular point. I'll start at north, I'll go over to east, south, then west, back to north and call spirit, right? And then when I call spirit, I generally like to start with air, fire, water, and then earth. So I start with spirit, and then I go with air, fire, water. And the reason I call earth last is because to me, Mother Earth caps everything. Without Mother Earth, there's nothing, obviously, right? So where we're at when we're looking at where it says right here, if you're doing a low cast or a non-major cast, all you need is one candle, just a single candle. There are some times that we would go into circle and we wouldn't actually call all 9 points. We would just simply call the energy. If we were doing an energy raising, if we were doing a training course, a training class, we wouldn't have candles and we wouldn't have the torches lit unless it was dark. Well, then we have the torches around the outer ring. But the actual elemental torches and the actual cardinal point candles, um, we wouldn't waste a candle because if we were doing a training circle, the only thing I would do would call in deity to open one's mind, and that's just a single candle. Um, make sure the torches are cleaned and filled. Make sure the torches have wicks and are going to be filled if you're going to have torches. Right. So, what are we using the torches? Well, I've had people burn diesel in their tiki torches. Now, I've had people burn other types of fuels. I've even seen some people try to use Coleman fuel in a torch. Not safe. You use Coleman fuel in a torch. It is extremely volatile, highly flammable, and you can end up inadvertently creating a bomb. Because if that flame gets down and burns through the stop up at the top, that causes a vacuum that pulls that fluid up. If that flame gets down below that, it will explode, and oh, you will have some people hurt. Use You can use kerosene. Kerosene, I think, tends to stink a little much. I typically like to use the citronella torch oil. Citronella, of course, helps keep the mosquitoes at bay. And growing up down south, we had some nasty mosquitoes that would carry you away. So, choose your tiki torch oil correctly. Do not use Coleman fuel, don't use gasoline, and don't use diesel in tiki torches. Number one, gasoline is highly volatile, very explosive, and you will cause problems. I have seen videos of people that have used gasoline and Coleman fuel in tiki torches, and people got hurt. I'm serious. Use approved torch oil, such as kerosene is fine. We used it for a long time. During heavy mosquito times, we would use the citronella oil or citronella tiki torch oil in torches. It's not expensive. It burns quite a while, and it definitely helps with the mosquitoes. So the fire pit. Now this is really kind of important here. Making sure you have all of the wood you need for the ritual. Making sure the fire pit is blessed and cleaned out. Making sure the crossing stones are clean and placed where they need to be. Now, let's go over each segment of this. Making sure you've got as much wood as you need for the fire pit. The last thing you want to do is have to pull somebody out of circle to go find firewood because you ran out in the middle of a ritual. Be prepared. Be prepared. Making sure the fire pit is blessed and cleaned out. Okay, why? Well, come on. If you've had a ritual from the last Sabbath, the last energy raising, whatever, and you've got a bunch of herbs and um, maybe candle trash or blessings or other things that were thrown into the pit, you want anything in there that doesn't belong. You want that cleaned out. So I always kept a short shank shovel in circle, and part of my job is cleaning circle. Luckily, sometimes I would have people helping me, a lot of times not. But I would always shovel out the pit, get the dirt back where it needs to be. Um, if there were leftover logs or twigs or stuff like that, absolutely. Pull it out and reuse it. Don't waste it. But if there were any candle pieces sometimes people will forget to pull the metal piece off of the bottom of a tea light, and they would just put them in there. We would sometimes use candles to help to light the fire, and sometimes you would have the little pieces, the metal pieces at the bottom of the candle off in the fire pit and clean those out. And then once a year, I would dig the fire pit out completely, reshape it, make sure it's where it needs to be, and clean it out. Fire pit is a very important thing. And when you're cleaning it out, make sure the trash goes in the trash. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but there are some that, well, you do. Make sure the crossing stones are where they need to be. Very, very important crossing stones. What the hell is a crossing stone? A crossing stone is exactly what it says it is. It is a stone that we cross from south to north over the fire if you're comfortable doing so and you're not wearing a piece of clothing that's going to go up in flames as you go across the fire. Um, yes, we've had that happen. And be sure that your stones are placed in the right place. Step on them yourself, wobble a little bit, and make sure the stones, when somebody steps on them, they're not going to wobble and throw somebody off. Safety, safety first, always safety first. Make sure your stones are solid. Make sure that they're not the variety of rock that if somebody jumps on them, they're going to snap. I've had people try to use limestone for launch and landing stones. They don't work. Number one, when they get wet, they're slick and they're gooey. Number two, they don't hold their strength real well at all. After the first couple of rains, you'll go to step on one and it'll snap or it'll crumble. Use real good heavy duty stones. Circle set up with 9 points, of course. And if you don't know what those points are, revert back up to first year training. We start with the cardinal points. Well, as we learned back up in the first year study, this is where we talk about north being positive energy, home of the east, the home of the rising sun, south, home of the negative vacuum, west, home of the setting sun and rise of the moon, seeing through the darkness. Back to the north and start the cast of the elements. So, let's go over the cardinal points real quick for any of those of you that might have forgotten or those of you that may not know. We we did, yes, that's happened. Um, we did cover the cardinal points and the elements and what they are. In fact, we even did a mock-up cast when we were doing an altar setup, right? And I showed everybody just a kind of a quick layout of my altar. Of course, my camera positioning sucks because I can't get the other two cameras to work with OBS, but I'll figure it out. So when you're calling, you're going to do your cardinal points first, and then you're going to come back and you're going to start your elements. Okay? And here's where it talks about first call is spirit, air, fire, water, earth. And vape. Sorry. Um, and I say again, the reason that I always call Earth last because it supports all of the other elements, blah, blah, elements for life, for existence, for sustaining life. Timing and getting ready for cast. All preparation for circle is your responsibility. Every aspect of circle is up to you to make sure it is done. What does that mean? Yes, there will be people that will say, what does that mean? What it says. It is your responsibility if you are calling circle to be sure that, number one, if you can gather the people to help. It's always good to have help when calling, getting ready, getting set up for a circle. So if you can get people there to help you, usually, most especially, seekers in first years, they need to understand the function They need to understand the function, the operation, and the setup of a circle. So therefore, you're going to want your first years and your seekers there, or your seekers and your first years there, to help you get everything set up. The circle cleaned, it mowed, it's set up right, the benches, everything's in place, everything's set up the way it needs to be. And bless their heart, I have seen people build up so much stress over setting up a circle. No, you don't need stress in setting up a circle. You're there for the blessing of whatever reason you're there. There should be no stress in setting up a circle. You don't, it, why? I've seen people get downright pissy when setting up a circle, and they'll turn around and bite at their students going, no, you're there as a teacher. You're not there to crack the whip. Damn. Hell, even early on, as much of a disciplinarian as I am, I still respected people that were there to help me set up circle. Walk them through it, talk them through it. I need you to do this, do that. Here's why. You know, yeah, respect. All right. So, all right. So, what is the 10 days of pre-writ? Anybody remember that? The 10 days of pre-writ, this is the time pre-writ. Blah. This is the time where anything can go wrong, will go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. You'll be tested with doubt, fear, anger, money, time, and any negative emotion you can think of. The darker energies will do all they can to stop the circle and celebration, and, keeping the faith. Hang in there, stay focused on the task at hand. So the 10 days pre-writ is can be a pain. I've had everything from tires go flat to people that had wanted to be there for years, suddenly they couldn't be, they couldn't make it. Um, you start sending out that positive energy, carrying on that positive note, and sometimes, before you know it, everything goes off without a hitch. It just goes fine. It does what it's supposed to do. Amazingly enough. Let's see. There we go. Right. Yes, I'm still getting things adjusted. Right. You need to make ready the feast. Okay? So this is all a part of your circle prep, right? Have you decided you're going to have a feast for circle? Have you decided, have you contacted the people? You need to get the people lined out. Who's going to be helping with the feast, right? Usually about 2 weeks prior to circle, I would send out to everyone that I know that loves to cook and go, okay, we have, well, our next upcoming Sabbath is Ostara when this video was produced. So I would send out to everyone, okay, Ostara is coming. It's going to be on this day at this time. Um, I need people that are willing to prepare a dish for the feast. Now, come on, guys. Preparing a dish for the feast, I don't care. And a lot of people had this problem back when we had the circle. They would wear themselves out trying to figure out how they were going to cook something. Well, if you can't cook, not everybody can cook, bring what you can, right? Whether it's bread or a loaf of pull apart bread, sourdough, bring what you can. I've had people that come in and they would stop by Walmart in the bakery department and they would pick up a chicken, an already cooked, already prepared chicken, and they'd bring it out, and pop the top. Hey, Walmart cooked chicken was just as good as any other chicken. Chicken is chicken for the most part. Yeah. So preparing for feast doesn't have to be anything radical. Depending on the size of your circle, we were lucky. We had a kitchen area set up off of circle just a bit where it was a fenced off area so that animals couldn't get to it. We had our tables set up there. Sometimes we had a Coleman stove there. Other times we may have hot plates with heavy duty extension cords run to them. So, I mean, we had everything from slow cookers to crock pots to deep fryers, whatever. So, when you're setting up your feast, it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Whatever people can bring, whatever people can do is fine. Now, here's where we did what we call kind of our pre-writ understanding. During feast, you need to watch the people. Now it is time to listen to counsel and the people in circle. They'll be asking you questions. You must be ready to answer the questions that they ask. Never stutter. Never stutter. What that means is if you are not comfortable and you have not been, have a good day, Sabrina. We'll see you next time. If you're not comfortable casting this circle, don't put yourself out there for questions because during feast pre-circle writ, you're opening yourself up for questions of the masses. Why are you having the circle? What's the purpose? Why did you do everything you did? What will you be calling? What deity will you be calling in? How will you be um, how will you be preparing for circle? How will you be getting ready for circle? All of this is handled in the handled during the feast and during pre-writ. Okay. So what I want to do here, I know that this has been a bit of a daunting go through here. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to stop right here and we're going to continue next week with what the pre-ritual is all about. Okay, um, this is going to be what the pre-writ is about, and we're going to talk about what goes on in the pre-writ. We'll cover a little more of what you're doing to prepare for your circle, but I want to kind of give you an idea. And the last thing I want to do is just overload your mind and dominate you with rules and regulations. All of this seems like a lot, but if you think about it, most of it is actually truly common sense. Common sense. Very strange thing, common sense. It's good to have. Yeah. All right. So we will be uploading the broadcast, the pre-recorded broadcast. We will be uploading it to YouTube and our other stations that we're on, right? And I really hope that you're enjoying the classes as we go along. I look forward to future questions. Now remember, if you post your questions in the chat area after the broadcast on Facebook, it may take one of us a little time to get to them. If you have questions over on YouTube, watching the archives, absolutely post them. I may do a video reply, I may do a written reply, depending on what kind of thing we can come up with, right? So, well, with this in mind, I always want to thank you for watching Live with the Shaman. We hope you're enjoying the classes as they go along. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here, Live with the Shaman.